My wife gave birth to a son who looks like her coworker. She forced me to take care of a baby that I'm pretty sure isn't mine. About a year ago, one of my buddies, coworkers, who just so happens to be married to a woman that works with my wife, Jane, came to me and confided that his wife believed there was something fishy going on with my wife and a man named Ryan. They were getting unnaturally close, spending time alone behind closed doors, even though they don't directly work together, and the way they were interacting with each other was causing rumors to spread throughout their office. I asked my wife about her relationship with Ryan, and she referred to him as her work husband, and was adamant that their friendship was strictly platonic. I told her that I was extremely uncomfortable with the way their friendship sounded, and asked that they spend a little less time together. She agreed, and that was the end of it. A few months later, we discovered that she's pregnant. We were genuinely excited to become parents. I ended up meeting Ryan at a baby shower and got a good look at his appearance. My wife and I were probably the happiest we'd ever been while she was pregnant. Then 3 months ago, she gave birth to a son. It didn't take long before I began to realize the baby looked nothing like the two of us. Jane and I have light-colored hair, pale skin, and blue eyes. Yet our son is several shades darker than us both, has brown eyes, dark hair, and even more oddly, a cleft chin. Ryan has all these features as well. The past 3 months I've been driving myself crazy, wondering who the father actually is. Many friends and relatives who have seen the baby have made remarks about how little he resembles us as well. Anytime someone else has mentioned how odd he looks with us, Jane's just laughed and chucked it up to genetics being finicky. This week I couldn't take the thought of her having cheated on me, and I admitted to Jane my fears, and asked if there was a way that the baby isn't mine. She went ballistic. I told her for my peace of mind, I wanted to get a paternity test, and she then threatened to divorce me for not trusting her. Her over-the-top reaction only made me more suspicious, and I went to another sub asking for advice, where I was provided a link to an article that proves that unless he's a genetic anomaly, her son didn't come from the two of us. I forwarded it to her, and she finally came clean about the affair. I've already gotten in touch with a lawyer, despite Jane promising me that everything between her and Ryan is over, and her pleas to try and be a family of 3. She knows how much I love kids and is using that against me. I've bonded with her baby, and I do love him, but I have no desire to raise another man's baby with my cheating, soon-to-be ex-wife. We will be taking a paternity test soon, but neither myself or Jane are expecting it will come back a match. The problem is that now Jane is asking me to still watch her son. She recently had to return to work from maternity leave, and I had originally scheduled all of my vacation time for the year to watch the baby in between the end of Jane's maternity leave and her mom's return from California. So now I'm stuck having to care for the constant reminder of my wife's affair. Obviously, it's not the baby's fault, but I can't even begin to tell you how much I don't want to spend the next 7 weeks bonding with this child. This all just sucks. I never expected to be in this situation, and I'm terrified that regardless of the paternity test, I will still end up financially and legally responsible for this kid. Ryan wants out of the entire situation, according to my wife. I don't even know what to do at this point, but I do know that I'm really hating the idea of being responsible for this kid, which just makes me feel guilty on top of depressed. My wife cheated. Discovered I am not my daughter's biological father. I just found out my 15-year-old daughter is not my biological child. My daughter was preparing for a family tree project for an online class and wanted an ancestry test. My father is half Native American, but he died several years ago, and I don't know precisely what Native American blood is in the family. My daughter came to me because it was my father, and we didn't mention it to her mother at the time. Well, it turned out my daughter doesn't have any Native American blood. The obvious conclusion didn't occur to me at first because the truth of the situation didn't seem possible. I assumed there was a mistake. My first thought was that my father hadn't been part Native American. So I took the test, and everything became apparent. It was a very emotional situation for me and my daughter. What I will remember the most was after she started crying, she hugged me so tightly and just kept saying over and over, "I love you, Daddy." At home, I confronted my wife, and she looked like she'd had a stroke. She started crying and apologizing. You can probably imagine it. My wife and I got married because she was pregnant. We had been together for more than a year when it happened. It turns out she was sleeping with multiple guys at the time. She says it didn't mean anything, and she doesn't even remember some of their names. When she realized she was pregnant, she said she wasn't sure who the father was. Since I was unaware of her extracurricular activities, she let me believe I was the father because I was the most financially stable. In terms of that, she may have chosen correctly. I have been very successful in my career, and building passive income streams has been a hobby of mine for a long time. My daughter got my wife to admit to this on tape, as my daughter records the whole thing. I asked my wife several times, and she keeps insisting that she has been faithful for the entire time we have been married. I've never suspected anything, but I also didn't realize she was sleeping around before we got married, so I've said I don't believe her. I've come across a lot of the red flags of cheaters, and I can't think of any of them during our marriage. She doesn't use social media, and she has never been guarded about her phone. She only drinks on special occasions and doesn't go out for girls' night or anything. Also, she is a stay-at-home wife and mom, so there aren't any coworkers to worry about. She exercises at home as we have a very nice home gym. I don't believe her when she says she hasn't cheated after getting married, but I can't think of anything suspicious. We have a prenup, so I'm not worried about divorce if it comes to that. My daughter is another story. She is absolutely livid about the whole situation. I know teenagers can be emotional. I certainly remember how I was at her age, but she has never been very expressive. Something I thought she got from me, nature versus nurture. My daughter can't stand to be around her mother. She has said some truly awful things to her mother. Basically variations of calling her a dirty who ruined our family. Whenever my wife tries to talk to her, my daughter yells and swears and cries like I have never seen. Christmas is coming up, and my daughter is demanding my wife leave the house until after New Year's so she can spend time with her real family, meaning me. My daughter has even come to me privately, saying that in the event of divorce, she wants to stay with me. She has even asked if it is possible to disown her mother and be adopted by me. I haven't told this to my wife. My wife is preparing to leave for her parents' house for the holidays. My wife and I had talked about the situation, but have decided to wait until after New Year's to make any decisions. I admit I'm grateful she agreed to leave because, honestly, I need some time to process this. I think I'm writing this as a way to just come to terms with everything that has happened. Update. After writing this post, I fell asleep for a few hours. I came back to the post after about 10 hours and realized there were more than 200 messages. Thanks to everyone who took the time to comment. It means a lot. Additionally, thanks for all the compassion and kind comments. I was touched by the displays of support, and I'm not ashamed to say I shed a few tears. I still haven't read every message, but know I intend to, whether or not I respond to yours specifically. I want to address two consistent things mentioned in the comments. I've had a DNA test. After our ancestry tests were different due to her lack of Native American blood, we got proper DNA tests. That was when I confronted my wife. Looking back at the original post, I'm sorry for not making that clear. I have made it clear in no uncertain terms that she is my daughter, and I am her father, regardless of the situation. I've reiterated to her repeatedly that she can stay with me, and I will never leave her. Several comments suggested she might be scared I will leave her, or want nothing more to do with her. Nothing could be farther from the truth, and I tell her every day. My wife was cheating on me while I was abroad for a week. It ruined everything I thought about us. We have known each other for more than 5 years, and we are married for more than 3 years. 4 days ago, I've discovered my wife cheated on me with a guy she met just 4 months ago. For 100% it happened while I was 1 week abroad on a business trip, and I cannot be sure if it didn't start earlier. How did I discover? I started to suspect her because of her rare messages on Messenger, reluctant phone answering. When I returned on the first night, I cuddled with her, to which she responded like, "Please, don't fall asleep like that. I'm not used to that after your week-long absence." Next day, when she was still asleep, I checked her Facebook account. We know each other's passwords to many accounts. I discovered photos of them cuddling, kissing, and tons of messages clearly stating she was staying overnight with him, probably at his place, while I was gone. She even admits in one message that she cheats on me. Her plan is to continue it, go through the incoming Christmas like nothing has changed. She even asked me what gift I would like to get. In the same time, she bought the gift for the guy. Can you believe that? In messages, she states she will keep going like that until she becomes, most probably, financially independent from me, which is not happening in 1 day, and then leave me in a cold and emotionless way. I don't know if she knows that I discovered her cheating on me. I have to assume she does. I barely remember the first hours of that day, and trying not to give her any clues of my knowledge and how totally wrecked I am, she could notice it and start her moves like preparations for a quick moving out, filing for divorce, etc. I haven't logged into her Facebook account since then, and I don't know if she noticed me logging into it because of read messages. I'm not up to date with the current state on her side. No matter what is going on, I think I need to prepare myself for the defense, to secure myself financially, to prepare for the battle over our 2 dogs and 2 cats. We don't have kids. I'm especially emotionally bonded to our dogs. Unfortunately, for 2 cats and 1 of the dogs, she is the sole owner in the adoption agreements. Only the first dog has 2 of us as its equal owners. This makes it perfectly legal for her to just take all of them when I'm not at home. I'm freaking out every time I'm returning to home. I'm scared that this time the home is empty and I'll never see them again. Her mother did shit like that when she was divorcing. Today I was visiting my lawyer for the first time, and even reaching there was a direct punch in my guts. I was wondering where one of the photos, which I obtained from her Facebook, was made. They were kissing and posing with our dogs. I discovered that place on my way to the lawyer. It's just a few steps from his office. I completely broke down there. I continue my game of unawareness, sleeping with her in the same bed, waiting for her late returns, accepting all of her shitty reasons of a busy schedule until detectives gather enough evidence. I feel no respect for myself. I can't look at myself in the mirror. I don't feel like a man anymore. Living in my home is like the tortures of hell. After having a report from detectives, I'm considering speaking with her, maybe with evidence on the table, I don't know yet, that I know about her affair and propose taking therapy for married couples. I want to make sure I've done everything I could. Maybe during the therapy I would become 100% certain I'm unable to trust her, and I can't even think about any intimacy between us anymore. Currently, with all the wrecking emotions inside me, I feel just like that. I'm thinking about it because it's so hard in one moment to see your first enemy in someone you've loved for years. Everyone who I tell about this just suggests to simply dump her. If you have any ideas what else I can do in the meantime, how to survive that time, especially incoming Christmas with all that falsehood and best wishes between us, please let me know. Update. I can't even express how grateful I am for all the heartwarming words and tons of advice, STD check, VAR, and so on. I wish I could respond to every one of you. I posted soon before going to sleep. It was close to 2 a.m. there. I'm GMT 2 located, and it burst overnight. Thank you once again. I'll try to be in shape to update in some time. I said it in some other comment, but here, where I am, having a report from a PI is absolutely legal, which is not the case for what I gathered by logging in. I confirmed that with a lawyer. And a PI report, if well prepared, makes her impossible to defend before the court. That being said, it makes it much easier to prove she is fully responsible for the destruction of the marriage and gain a verdict on her guilt. And according to my local law, that secures me and prevents her from suing me for alimony in the future.